Davis, football, basketball, and baseball. Bobby Carter, teacher and coach. Ronald Sewell for football. David Buss, football, basketball, and baseball. Pam Andrews, basketball, softball, and track. Ed Nelson, teacher and coach. Walter Jones, football, basketball, and track. Jen Watson Jenkins, tennis, basketball, and soccer. And the 1968 Northeastern 3A Conference Champion football team. Thank y'all so much. These 9 individuals and the 1968 football team will be inducted into the Hall of Fame tomorrow night at the banquet held at the Kirkwood Adams Community Center. Thank y'all so much and congratulations. It's certainly well deserved.
Buddy Ring graduated from Roanoke High School in the class of 46, where he played basketball and baseball. His senior year baseball team was conference champions and lost to Sanford in the state 3A playoffs. That team, as Buddy proudly notes, is unique in the annals of Roanoke High School sports, and maybe even further in that each of the starting 9 went to earn a 4-year degree. I think that's amazing in itself. After graduation, he went to Dodger Tribe Camp, and the St. Louis Browns offered him a scholarship to Ohio State University, but he had to enter the Army. Upon his discharge, Buddy entered Wake Forest College on a partial baseball scholarship. His career at Wake Forest was highlighted by playing in the NCAA tournament finals in 1949, coming up just 2 short, losing to the University of Texas. But his baseball career continued, playing twice for the Raleigh Capitals in the Class B Carolina League and for the Wilson Tops of the Class D Coastal Plain League. Having not served the minimum time earlier, he was drafted again into the Army in 1954, during which time, according to him, he played mostly baseball with his team playing in the 6th Army tournament. Buddy returned to Roanoke Rapids, married and raised a family, and retired from J.P. Stevens. But his relationship with baseball was not over. Buddy assisted Coach Bobby Carter and Buddy's son Jeff to coach the baseball team beginning in the late 80s, imparting his knowledge, wisdom, and love of the game of baseball to another generation of Yellow Jackets. So this time we'd like to honor Buddy Wren, and Buddy, Gilbert's going to bring the plaque over to you. Next we have Arthur Davis, class of 61. Arthur was a humble giant in the history of Roanoke Rapids High School athletics. He was a 3-time three-sport letterman, and was awarded the Sam Owen Award, given at that time to the most outstanding senior athlete in the 1960-61 school year. Arthur led in football in 60 and 61, basketball in 59, 60, and 61, in baseball in 59, 60, and 61 for a combined 8 letters in a 3-year varsity career. He earned all conference honors in football his senior year and in both his junior and senior years in basketball and baseball. During his junior season, he scored 40 points in a basketball game, only to be bested by Tommy King with 41 points later that season. In his senior citizen, he equaled King's 41 points in the first game and went on to average 26.5 points per game in the pre-3-point era. All of his senior citizen was highlighted by being chosen All-East and All-State in basketball. After high school, Arthur accepted a scholarship to Elon College to play basketball and baseball. He was a 4-year starter in baseball for the Fighting Christians. Arthur came back to Roanoke Rapids after serving his country in Vietnam with the U.S. Army. He worked with Going Chemical Company for a number of years prior to establishing a residential construction company. Arthur, in addition to his athletic prowess, was a good friend to many and always available to help in emergency, no matter how large or small.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Arthur Davis' grandson. My name is Noah Joyner. I'm here with his family this evening. They're right there in the back. And my mother asked me, I think like a week and a half ago, to stand up and say something. When he got this award, she said, "You got a week and a half to come up with a speech to honor your grandfather that you remember so fondly, you love him so much." And that's a tall order. So I don't think I'm going to really try too hard to do that. Just, if you knew him, I don't got to say anything. You know all you need to know. If you didn't know him, talk to somebody who did here tonight, this evening, because I'll tell you everything you need to know. He was a great guy. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. And I want to thank everybody for honoring him this evening. Thank you.
Coach Bobby Carter came from Williamston. For those who knew Coach Carter, you will find this information hard to believe, and I did. In his younger years, he taught swimming lessons and was a lifeguard at the Williamston Town swimming pool. Well, when I knew him, he was bigger than me. I can't imagine him. And if he was here, I'd get on just like he was. So, Coach Carter played center position in the East Carolina football team and was a catcher for the ECU baseball team. He later returned to East Carolina and received his master's degree. After a stint in the National Guard, Coach Carter taught and coached at Williamston, Perquimans, and Roanoke Rapids High School. Here's another surprise about Coach Carter. At Perquimans High School, Bobby coached the girls' basketball team. Now, I can't believe that. But anyway, and they've got proof. There's a picture in Perquimans High School yearbook to prove this. And so he coached football as well as the baseball team there too. In 1963, he led the baseball team to a state championship and a baseball state runner-up in 1964. In 1968, Coach Carter started teaching history and driver's ed at Roanoke Rapids High School. He coached both football and baseball at Roanoke Rapids. Coach Carter remained there until his death in January 1991. Coach Carter had a big influence on both his students and athletes. During his tenure as coaching, Coach Carter had the privilege of being associated with future major baseball players Jimmy Catfish Hunter, Gaylord Jim Perry, and our own Brian Barnes. Susan Cox became a college coach. Freddie and Francis Combs, the voice of NC Wolfpack, also was coached by Bobby Carter. Brian Barnes, on his acceptance speech at Clemson Hall of Fame, credits a lot of his success to Coach Carter. He said that Coach Carter was old school, and he challenged you by questioning your commitment and your effort. He always wanted to get the best out of his students and players, and he did.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Brady, I'm the grandson of Coach Carter, and I just want to say to all the people who've made this decision, to have him in the Hall of Fame, very grateful on behalf. And there's not really much otherwise I can say, because I know a lot of people here personally know him very well, and know not only an outstanding coach, but more importantly, an outstanding individual, family man, one I truly admired, the life that he lived and all what he's done, and I'm very grateful for everybody that's has welcomed him and my grandmother Pauline into the community. And other than that, thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. I'm going to tell this about Coach Carter. You know, back when we went to school, they didn't cancel school. I mean, if it was a foot deep in snow, you went to school. Now they even mention it and they cancel school. But anyway, the snow was pretty deep, and Coach Carter was walking across between the gym and the junior building. And Eddie George had got a snowball. He packed that thing and he threw it all the way across that junior building and hit Coach Carter in the head. Well, he didn't turn around. He knew who done it. And he hollered, Eddie George, and you could hear it all over Roanoke Rapids with that deep voice of his. And he turned around and he said, you might need to be the quarterback instead of the middle guard on the football team. And but I think we got in some little more trouble than that. Next, we have Ronald Ray Sewell. I know Ronald Ray Sewell. I used to do Ronald Sewell. Class of 1970, football. Ron Sewell was an integral part of the 1968-69 Yellow Jacket football team as a place kicker and quarterback, earning all conference honors his senior season. After graduating from Roanoke Rapids in 1970, Ron attended NC State, where he joined the football team as a walk-on place kicker. Ron played on Lou Holt's Wolfpack teams of 1972 and the ACC Championship squad of 1973. He played in the 1972 Peach Bowl and the 1973 Liberty Bowl, both Wolfpack victories. Ron set 7 NC State kicking records, 3 ACC records, and 1 Peach Bowl record for his 2-year career. And although his straight-on kicking style has long since been replaced by soccer-style kicker, his Peach Bowl and 2 NC State records are still standing 45 years later. After serving various roles for multiple communities in North Carolina and Kentucky, Ron harnessed his entrepreneurial spirit and started a software business which he sold in 2001. In 2006, he founded Paygo Utilities, where he is currently president to provide payment services to major utility companies. He currently holds 1 U.S. patent with 3 pending. Ron's an avid pilot with the airline transport pilot license with jet-type ratings in multi-craft and volunteers for the Angels Flight Organization, flying organ transplant patients. He and a fellow NC State teammate founded a nonprofit organization called Wings from Above, whose sole purpose is to provide free transportation for critical care and transport patients of all ages. Along with Coach Holt, he founded Willie Burton Memorial Foundation at NC State to fund athletic football scholarships. And he was also the drummer for the Brimals. So, congratulations.
Coming up here, it hit me all of a sudden, and I'm going to try to make this brief, but coming up here, I realized that we're kind of in the same boat. None of us know what I'm going to say. But I did ask Rocky, I said, what should I talk about? And he said, about your experiences at Roanoke Rapids High School and in college, and talk a little bit about some stories that I may have about NC State. Except for today. But, thinking about this whole thing, first of all, I'm very honored and humbled to be up here. Because this is your friends, people that actually voted for you, put you up here. I've got a lot of teammates in the audience this evening, and I'm up here because of them, not necessarily because of what I've done. And that's... Our friends really make us or create us or help us develop and so forth. And Roanoke Rapids High School is phenomenal for that. Just a great place to grow and develop. I did want to say, again, just being here and being voted up here, I want to thank my cousin Jimmy Evans for nominating me, and I'll pay you when we're through tonight. But I'm not a very good speaker, I'll tell you that. I did have one job in Kentucky. I worked for the mayor there in Lexington, Kentucky. And I had to give a 5-minute speech the day after it was announced that I was going to be the Public Works Commissioner up there. TV stations there, news outlets and so forth, and I go up and give my 5-minute speech, and I'm walking off the stage. And the mayor was kind of escorting me off, and as he was doing that, I heard this council member lean over to the guy beside him and said, "That's the worst speech I've ever heard." And I kind of just tensed up a little bit. The mayor grabbed my arm and said, "Don't worry about him. He's just an old letter carrier from the post office. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He just heard what everybody else said. They just repeated it." So that didn't give me a lot of confidence, that's for sure. But I did want to say one of the greatest experiences I've ever had was playing at NC State for Lou Holtz. An incredible person, not just a great coach, one of the top 10 college Hall of Fame coaches, but he was just almost a psychiatrist. I mean, he would sit there and he knew how to talk to people. He had a gift. He could be here tonight and talk to you for 10 minutes, and he would know more at the end of that 10-minute conversation, know more about you than you knew about yourself. That's a gift. In fact, we had 2 quarterbacks, very good, and some of you remember the names. One was Bruce Shaw. Bruce was the kind of guy, to motivate him, he had to pat him on the back and caress him and tell him how great it was. And Bruce would go back in and throw a touchdown pass. The other guy was Dave Bucky, the Bucky twins. With Dave, he'd grab him by the face mask and get right in his face and shake his head on him. And Dave would respond to that. That's a great coach. And the other thing he did that all great coaches do is he teaches you about life. How to be successful in life. Not just on the field, but off the field. And that's very, very important. That's what athletics is all about. It's just an education. It's not about the field. It's about when you leave the field and go off in the world. I will say this, like you said, to tell you a little bit about my quote career, so to speak. Yeah, I played in high school and it was great. We had great team members, and a lot of them here tonight. And they did all the work and I got all the credit. It wasn't fair. But, we really depend on everybody else around us. I did go off in my freshman year at school. I went out as a quarterback, walk on, and out of 6 quarterbacks, I was number 7. So that means I was on the meat squad. And some of you know what that means, get your brains beat out. But anyway, I did fit my freshman year. We had freshman football back then. And then sophomore year was redshirted, which means you get to practice every day, hot, cold, whatever, but you don't get to go play in the games. You get to dress out. You sit in the stands. But you do get a 5th year of eligibility. My junior year was different. I don't need to talk about me. This is to really kind of tell you where this whole thing's going and about Holtz. But I can go out the first day of practice, my junior year. I put in 2 years already. I walk out on the field and there's 7 other place kickers out there. And I'm saying, what are you guys doing here? This is my job. I put the time in. You're not supposed to be here. It was Holtz's first year. He started the first day. We said, we're going to have a competition every day. We're going to start at the 27-yard line, which is an extra, where you kick from an extra point, 27 yards out. And we start the right hash. You make it, you get to go to the middle. You make it, you go to the left hash. You back up 5 yards, so left, middle, right. 5 yards, right, middle, left. If you miss, you're out for the day. So after 3 weeks of contest, turned out I had won more daily contests than anybody else. I got the job. September 9th, 1972. We open up with Maryland at Carter Finley Stadium. We're running out at the half. We have about 10 seconds left. Holtz says, okay, 33-yard field goal, go for it. I go out there, and of course, the other coach calls the timeout. Well, and you do that to make the kicker think about this thing, right? Getting all nervous. It worked. I hooked it to the left. We ended up tying that game 24-24. I lost the game. Second game, Syracuse, we won 42-20. No big deal. Third game, University of North Carolina. At Carolina. You can lose every game in the whole season. As long as you win Carolina, you've had a winning season. Carolina scored in the first 2 minutes, 7-0. We scored the next time going down the field. 7-6. Holtz sends me in. Actually, he didn't send me. I just went in. I hooked that. 7-6. We ended up losing that game 34-33. Third game, 3 games, and I lost 2 of the 3 games. If I had made those 2 kicks, we would have won the conference that year. You know, I was telling somebody today, you don't remember the kicks you made, you remember those that you don't make. And every Saturday in football season, I think about those 2 kicks. So, Monday, we go to practice. I'm going to try to make this short. We come in off the field from practice, go into our locker room, and I look in my locker, and there's a note there. And it says, Coach Holtz would like to see you tomorrow morning, 9:30 in his office. Well, we know what that means, right? I clean up my locker and go back to my dorm room. Go into his office the next morning at 9:30. I'm sitting there in front of his secretary, and 9:45 the phone rings. She picks it up. She says, Coach, we'll see you now. I go in his office, 2 chairs. I sit in one closest to the door so I can make a quick exit. He says, shut the door. Shut it. He says, I just want you to know you're going to start Saturday against University of Georgia. But get out of here and I'll see you at practice. Let me tell you, that was the best thing that ever happened to me for someone to put confidence in me because I never had it before myself. Think about that. It's amazing how people have an influence on your life. Oh, I didn't tell you too, when I came in from the missing that kick at Carolina, he met me on the field and he said, don't you ever go into that game without checking with me first. We might want to go for 2 points. And get your blankety blank 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 on the bench and don't get up until the bus leaves. But anyway, I walked out of his office that day, and for the first time ever, I felt like I could actually do something. Never believed in myself for a minute. Long and the short of it, we went on, another part of the story, we went on for the rest of the year, and we didn't miss an extra point. And it wasn't because of me. We ended up with this little 152-pound guy that hoped to put an ad in the student paper that day after I missed for a snapper. And this guy named Tom Butts, 152 pounds, came in, and he was good. He would take this football. He would snap it back. He would rotate.
Be careful with that. That's a little $50 football.
He would rotate it exactly 1.5 turns so the threads would always be to the front. That's 40% of any kick. Dave Bucky, who was the other quarterback, incredible. He would catch it with one hand, stick it down on a dime. That's the other 50%. I only had 10% to do. Those guys never missed. If we ever missed it again, it was my fault. So I always say we. I didn't set any records. We set records, and they were the biggest part of it because it's a team effort. Anyway, we ended up going to the Peach Bowl. We won 49 to 13, I think, West Virginia, with Bobby Bowden. And come senior year, I finally got a scholarship. Let's call me into his office for the second time. Said, you won scholarship this year, so that was great. We continued on having success. And then we go to Liberty Bowl. And I'm going to close with that in a moment. But again, one thing about Coach Holtz was he told us how to succeed in life. what was important. And that was the big thing. But the greatest lesson I ever learned from Holtz was not from Lou. It was from his wife, Beth. September 23rd, 2015, 2:42 a.m. Coach's house was hit by lightning, and it burned to the ground. And I got a call 6 weeks later from his assistant, Angie, and she said, the sports group had given Coach and his wife, his son, Kevin, and grandson, Aaron, 4 tickets to Yankees game. But he's got a conflict. Can you take him up to New York? So we did. We went down, picked him up, flew him up to New York, and brought him back the same day. But on the way up, I was talking with Beth, and she started talking about the house burning, and in tears. And she said, we lost everything. All the memorabilia, photographs, certificates, trophies, everything. Burned to the ground. We'll never get them back. She said, but that's just stuff. She said, the only thing that you can take with you to heaven are your kids. And I thought about that, and that's probably the most profound thing. If you keep that in front of you, you'll be okay. But that just said a lot. Having said all that, I've got a good friend who's the executive director of the Wolfpack Club, Bobby Purcell. And I told Bobby about this evening and about this award, which I'm just so grateful for. He said, let me tell you, you can get all these trophies, you can sell all these records, you can have an unbelievable career, whether it's in high school, college, or pros. But you know what? That stuff or that recognition comes from people who don't know you. He said, let me tell you, this Hall of Fame award from your hometown is greater than any of that because it comes from people you know. It's people who surround you, who have supported you all your life. He said, it's a big deal. And yet he's right, really was. And I want to thank you so much, more than you know. It's not just a piece of paper or certificate. Anyway, having said that, I'm going to close with one other story about Lou, and this was about when we went to the Liberty Bowl. Lou has this thing that he does when it comes to playing in bowl games. He always likes to build up the other team. And when you go to a bowl game, you go on Monday, the game's on Saturday, and you practice, light practice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is media day. And that's when all the TVs are there, ESPN, all the newspapers. And so, kind of excited. It's been a great year. So I go and I pick up the paper and I start looking through it, trying to find a sports page. All of a sudden, I see where he's talking about the other team and how great they are and how bad we are. And I said, that's not very good. And he says, yeah, as a matter of fact, we got a terrible passing game going on. And on top of that, we've got a terrible kicking game. And so I'm looking through the paper and I'm not liking what I read. And so I keep going through and said, yeah, we had a record this year for the shortest punt. We had a minus 12-yard punt against Nebraska. I knew the guy that made the kick, so I said, yeah, that's kind of funny, isn't it? And he went on and he talked and he said, on top of that, we got a terrible kicking place kicking game. And I'm thinking, Coach, what were you talking about? Because, we set all these records and so forth, and I didn't like what I was reading, so I just kept tearing the paper up. And he said, yeah, as a matter of fact, true story now. He said, if we had a 5-yard offside penalty on an extra point, we'd be out of range. True story. And he was really kind of telling the truth on that. He said, yeah, and in fact, if we had I used to tell the crews at Carter Fielding Stadium, don't paint the goalpost or we'll never get a field goal over it. He said that too, true, honestly. And I wasn't feeling too good about myself at that point in time. I didn't know if I could actually play in the game. And anyway, the long and short of it was, we just kept going on, and we went out and played pretty good that game. And by the time it was all over, we won the game. So, long and short of it was, somewhere in here's a news story about the game. Anyway, it's in there. I couldn't really do that.
I was watching it.
I got another one. I'll do for you. Anyway, no, it's something the whole show. But we did have a great time. And it was, college football was fantastic. And being here tonight is just terrific. So thank you so much for everything. This means a lot to me.
Next we have David Butts. I want to say this, David's not here, and David's having some tough times right now. I'd always heard of David Butts, but didn't really get to know him until I would meet him and talk to him at the Choctaw Country Club. And very modest about things he had done. And like I said earlier, I'm totally amazed at some of the bios that's on these people here, but I just wish he could be here, and I know he would too. And he's got some friends sitting over here as well as his family over here. But I do want to read this about David. David Butts was an all-around student athlete who was a 3-year starter in the varsity sports of football, basketball, and baseball. In addition to service as a junior marshal and a member of the National Honor Society. David was a running back in football as well as a defensive player. He played guard in basketball and third base in baseball. In his sophomore year, he was named All-Conference in baseball. During his junior year, he was selected as a co-captain of the basketball team and was voted by his teammates at the conclusion of the season as a co-MVP. He also received All-Conference honorable mention in baseball that same year. In his senior year, David was a tri-captain of the football team, was named All-Conference and received All-East honorable mention. In basketball his senior year, he also was also a tri-captain, was named All-Conference and All-East. David was selected as one of the 10 players to play for the East in the East-West All-Star Game in Greensboro in 1977. David was named All-Conference in baseball his senior year. At the conclusion of his senior year, he was voted MVP in basketball by his teammates, MVP in baseball, and was awarded the Sam Owen Athletic Award. David went on to play basketball for 2 years at Greensboro Coliseum before transferring and graduating from NC State. So it's an honor to read this about David because I really got to know him later on. And it's someone from his family is here.
Yes.
Okay, come on up. I really feel honored to have a judge in front of me this time. It's something rare that I don't see a lot of. So anyway, come on up.
I did make note of how many drinks Bill says he has.
Two beers.
As Phil said, unfortunately, David is unable to be here. But we talked about what he wanted said, and he was very, very honored and humbled. 40 years after he hung up his cleats and his tennis shoes, to be recognized with this honor for his efforts and accomplishments. His family members are here, his friends are here, and David was very thankful for this great honor. He asked me to thank the Hall of Fame committee, and especially his friend, teammate Kenny Hucks, who put his name forth. David said he wanted to make sure that all the coaches were thanked, that it helped him over the years from rec league all the way up. Mark Farley pointed out that all the coaches that coached David are in the Hall of Fame. Coach Curtis, Coach Bobby Carter, Coach Woody Wilson, Coach Lee West, and anybody that played a sport knows you don't get far without that quality of coaching. And David wanted to make sure they were acknowledged, along with his teammates, who, as Ronald Sewell said, anyone really who has individual accomplishments in a team sport knows it's all the teammates that make the difference. I wanted to add a couple of thoughts, having known David for over 50 years. A lot of us in this room participated in sports in high school, but this ceremony really celebrates those who had something special. Some of those athletes that are really just extraordinary. Like the others honored in years past and here tonight, David was a great and is a great athlete. As Phil read his bio, he did amazing things in 3 sports. I believe that what really separates the great athletes, the ones that are honored at events like this and in years past, is that they have that something special that in the 4th quarter, when legs are tired and when lungs are all out of breath and you can't get your breath, really when there's no gas left in the tank, those athletes have something special they can dig down and call upon. They can force themselves to keep their legs moving, to keep their lungs pushing, and they're the ones that say, "Give me the ball, I can do it." David still has that to this day. Thank you.
Turner, you're still my favorite judge, and I tell you that every time I'm in front of him. Next is Pam Andrews, class of 1981, basketball and softball. Pam Andrews, I'm sorry, I read something I wrote on the thing we're going to say. Pam Andrews was an outstanding 2-sport student athlete in basketball and softball from 77 to 81. She was the starting point guard for all 4 years. She's also known for her ball handling skills, long distance shooting, and leadership on the court. She was chosen co-captain, MVP, and all-conference honors in the 10th and 11th grade. One of her most memorable moments in her high school career was making an 85-foot shot in a game. Pam was instrumental in starting the softball program in 1978 and played on the first softball team in Roanoke Rapids history. She played shortstop and earned MVP and all-conference honors in the 10th and 11th grades. After suffering a torn ACL at the beginning of her senior year in basketball, Pam remained very involved with sports she loved. As co-captain of the team, she took on a new role as motivator and became assistant coach. Despite her knee injury, her peers still voted her the most athletic senior superlative, and she received the Sam Owen Award. Pam was also a member of the Roanoke Rapids High School band and served as vice president of the junior class. Prior to high school, Pam was the first girl to play Little League baseball in Roanoke Rapids. Pam continued her academic and athletic career at UNC Greensboro, playing basketball and softball for the Spartans. Pam was a 3-year starter in softball, receiving all-conference and all-tournament team recognition. In her senior year, softball transitioned to fast pitch, and Pam was the first pitcher in fast pitch softball history at UNCG. She received her BS degree in physical education and held the position of president of the PE student majors of North Carolina her senior year. Pam continued her love for sports after playing USSA softball for more than 25 years. Pam was very successful in rewarding teaching and coaching career in Wayne County for 33 years. She coached basketball for 33 years, softball for 15 years, volleyball for 8, and cross country for 4. She has won 17 conference championships, 11 Coach of the Year awards, and received a Model Teacher Award. Throughout her teaching and coaching career, Pam has dedicated her life to teaching and coaching young girls both on and off the court. Pam has exhibited the kind of dedication, discipline, integrity, and passion that has made her a great coach. Pam Andrews. I refer to her as a fun size because she's the size of my wife, so that's, and I told her that earlier. We have something for her to stand on, and she told me not to say this, but it's a case of toilet paper. And then she won't know that you take it home. She's not as short as y'all thought she was.
Well, I've been coaching for so long and standing in front of a podium all these years, and you can hardly see me. I said, tonight is my night, and I want to be sitting. But I think I appreciate the introduction. I'm not sure. If any of you knew my dad, Graham Andrews, he definitely had a gift of gab, and I am truly his daughter, and I have a lot to say tonight, but I won't keep you long. I was told 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to stay as close to that. But being here this weekend, it has been very, very special for me. It reminds me of how much I love Roanoke Rapids High School and how proud I was wearing the black and gold uniforms. First, I'd like to thank the Roanoke Rapids High School Hall of Fame Committee for this amazing award. It is a privilege to be inducted in the class of 2018 Athletic Hall of Fame. This award brings my athletic career full circle. From a little girl playing sports with the guys in the neighborhood, and we called it the corner, and I was their little sister, to playing Little League Baseball because there was no opportunities for girls softball, to playing basketball at the rec, to playing basketball, softball, and track in high school, and playing basketball and softball in college, and playing many years of USSSA softball. All these experiences have led me to my ultimate passion, teaching and coaching girls for the last 33 years. I've dedicated my life to being a role model for my student athletes, and am proud that they continue to be a part of my life. To my family and friends, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to all of you who are kind enough to travel near and far and to take time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight to celebrate a happy occasion together. Everyone here has been an important part of my journey, and I know my mom and dad are watching and are very proud. I'd like to personally thank Bob and Edith Kinsey. They were my mom's best friends, and they're here tonight to represent my parents. And I know my parents will be very, very grateful. So thank you. To my brother Jody, he was very instrumental in my athletic career. At an early age, he had me playing sports with him and the neighborhood boys. He not only taught me the fundamentals of the game, but he also taught me the X's and O's, which set me apart from all the girls my age back then. I hope he knows how much I appreciate his interest in my athletic and coaching career. There are a few others that played a part of laying the foundation that led to this award. The neighborhood guys. Jim Tilron, Eddie Bear, Steve Wright, and David White. They always included me when they played. Just hanging out with you, they were the best memories of my childhood. Thank you. To Mike Newsom, he was the first person in Roanoke Rapids who gave girls of my generation a platform to play and compete. He was a special coach and friend to me. He was my first boss, and he was my biggest fan. To Maxie Clifford, he was an inductee of the North Carolina Softball Hall of Fame, and he's considered one of the best softball players of his time. He taught me how to pitch fast pitch in 1984. He prepared me to be that first fast pitch pitcher, and I made history at UNCG. To Bill Branch, who reinstated girls' basketball program after a 20-year absence, and he approved to start a softball program under his tenure as principal of Roanoke Rapids High School. My life has truly been blessed by many people who have supported me throughout my athletic career. Whether you were my coach, my teammate, attended my games, or I coached you, or sacrificed and supported me through my challenging coaching career, I thank you all. I hope that I've played a small part in opening the doors, like Jen, to pursue their athletic careers at RRHS. This is a night that I'll always remember for the rest of my life. Thank you so much.
Wallace Edward Ed Nelson. And you look up here, be nice. Coach Ed Nelson was born in Commerce, Georgia, and he was an outstanding member of the football, wrestling, and track teams at Commerce High School. Coach Nelson attended East Carolina University, where he led in football, and the coach had died and graduated in 1979. He began teaching physical education and coaching at Roanoke Rapids High School in 1982. While at Roanoke Rapids, Coach Nelson served as assistant and head football coach, head wrestling coach, and head track coach. He started the Roanoke Rapids High School cross-country team and served as his first coach. His coaching accomplishments include 6 conference championships in wrestling, 9 conference championships, and 1 regional championship in track, 6 individual state track championships in men's track, and 4 individual state runners in the women's track. In 1997, Coach Nelson was named Coach of the Year for Roanoke Rapids, and in 1998 he was named the Northern Conference Champion, Conference Women's Coach Track. That was hard to say, but I got through it. And yeah, I did graduate Roanoke Rapids High School. In 2011, he was nominated by the Roanoke Rapids High School Administration for the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Spirit of Sport Award, which seeks to recognize individuals who exemplify the ideals of positive spirit of the sport. Coach Ed was named Genius by the Players so to acknowledge of defensive plays. I did not know that's what it meant, I'll be honest with you. Genius. Not only taught school sports skills, but also taught character, values, and citizenships to his players. He led by example, thus gaining the respect of his players and peers. Coach Nelson retired in 2014 after a 35-year career dedicated to education and coaching the youth of North Carolina and Georgia. He continued to serve the youth of Roanoke Rapids by volunteering through athletic programs at Roanoke Rapids High School. So come on up here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to first thank the committee for electing me. My family and I are very appreciative. There are several family members I need to recognize that have been a major part of my coaching career. I would first like to recognize my wife, Margie. Raise your hand, Margie. We will be celebrating our 37th anniversary this December. It is not easy being a coach's wife. Thank you for taking care of our daughters and our home front for all the years I was away at practice, games, matches, and meetings. Next, I want to recognize my oldest daughter, Christina, and her husband, Brian, and my youngest daughter, Angie, and her husband, Zach. Thanks for your support and understanding when it comes to me coaching. Also here, probably the most important one, is my mother-in-law, Georgie, or Belia, as my family calls her. Finally, my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, Gilbert and Lillian. I couldn't ask for any better in-laws. All right. I came to Roanoke Rapids in the summer of 1982 to coach football with Bud Dieters and teach PE. I will always be grateful to Bud for helping me get to Roanoke Rapids. I spent 3 good years coaching football with him, specifically working with the offensive line and the defensive ends and linebackers. We also spent a lot of time in the weight room with our players. We had a very good coaching staff, and some of the coaches on that staff were the late T.W. Chambliss, Terry Frazier, and Mike Hedgefield, just to name a few. We were 7-3, 4-6, and 9-2 those years, even though we were in a tough 3A conference. I was head coach from 1985 to 1988. Walter and Jim, they did a great job. My kids gave me everything that we had. I spent 2 years starting and coaching the cross-country team at Roanoke Rapids. Mr. Rogerson, the principal, and he felt like it would be not only help our track program, but also get students who didn't have a fall sport to participate in, want to participate. Cross country still going strong, and has won over the years several conference championships and has numerous individual places in conference, regionals, and state. I think just past week they won the conference. I got back into coaching football when Tim Bennett was hired as head coach in 1994. I spent 12 good seasons as Tim's defensive coordinator. 9 of those years we had good football. And 6 of those years we made the playoffs. And in 2000 we won the conference championship. That team was honored last year, and it's a team that I'll never forget. We had a very good coaching staff consisting of Andre Stewart, Pete Edwards, Jason Edwards, Don Edwards, and Gary Edwards, Don White, Tad Merritt, Bill Biesicker, and Steve Berry. Tim emphasized the family atmosphere for our coaches, and we're all still friends. When I was hired at Roanoke Rapids, Mr. Branch asked me if I would be head track coach, Roseland Boys, and head wrestling coach. Of course, I said yes. With track, I spent 30-plus years coaching it. The track program had been very competitive before I came to Roanoke Rapids, and Coach Wilson had left me a good group to build my program around. I wanted to try to get more participation, and as the years went by, the participation of both teams was growing. It even got to the point we would load up a women's bus and a men's bus for our away meets. We've had numerous team championships, men and women. We had lots of individual event winners at the conference, regional, and state. One of my fondest memories was Walter Jones winning the state 1A, 2A, 100-meter dash, and 400-meter dash in 1987. And I have another one, Sonia Hatcher, her relay team in 1987 finished second in the state. The coaches that coached with me were Don White, Jerry Bullock, who also coached cross country for years, Tim Bennett, Marcus Carey, and Juliana Richardson. They all did a great coaching job, and they were a major part of our success in track. Finally, wrestling was a sport that was new to Roanoke Rapids. Coach Wilson had started in 1981, the year before I came. And I'm very appreciative that he left me with a group that I could build my program around. One of the best decisions I made was hiring Don White as my assistant coach. He was at Chilwan College. And we spent 20-plus years coaching him. The first couple of years were tough. We took a trip one night to Little Washington. We got beat by Plymouth 72-6, and we got beat by Washington 78-0. But gradually we got better. One of our goals each year was for all of our 14 weight classes to be filled up, and for the most part we did. Finally, we won a conference title and were fortunate to win several more in the middle to late 80s. We had numerous conference, regional, state placers during that time. Even into the 2000s, we were very competitive in wrestling and finished in the top 3 in our conference just about every year. Last year, the wrestling team, I believe, won the conference tournament. I want to congratulate them. I really want to thank our administration for keeping wrestling and supporting it. Most of the teams that we wrestled against to begin with have since dropped their programs. But it just shows our administration how they support wrestling and the kids. In closing, I want to thank some of my principals and athletic directors who have been a very big support in my coaching career. The principals are the late Bill Branch, the late Chet Rogerson, the late Joe Searcy, Mr. Robert Hurley, Ms. Loretta Riddick, and Ms. Carol County. The athletic directors are Mr. Curtis, my brother-in-law Gilbert, and Tim Bennett. The memories that I have for coaching, I will cherish the rest of my life. Roanoke Rapids is a good community, and to coach in it, I'm very
Walter Jones, the third. The class of 1988, football, basketball, and track. Walter was born the 4th of 5 children to parents Walter and Roxy Jones. He grew up in the Roanoke Valley area where he was mentored by dedicated educators and coaches. Walter began playing team sports in Roanoke Rapids T-Ball League and later participated in the Little League Baseball and midget football programs. Walter went on to play sports at both Weldon and Chandler Middle Schools. He attended Roanoke Rapids High School from 1984 to 1988 and received all conference honors in football, basketball, and track. In his junior track season, Walter won the state title in both 100 meters and 400 meter events and was named the MVP. In football, Walter earned All-East and All-American honors. He was selected to both the NC Shrine Bowl and the NC East-West All-Star teams. In addition, he was recognized as an NC Athletic Scholar for his performance in the classroom. Walter accepted an athletic scholarship to Duke University, where he was letterman in football and indoor track. He ended his football career at Duke as the 4th all-time leader in career receiving touchdowns and yardage and 7th all-time leader in career receptions. He currently resides in Apex, North Carolina as a father to a 15-year-old daughter. It's hard to believe you're that old to have a daughter. Madison, who is an aspiring collegiate volleyball player. He has worked in the IT field over the past 26 years and is currently Director of International Finance at MedLife in Cary. Walter is also a volunteer for various youth mentoring programs. So Walter, congratulations, and come on up.
How's everyone doing this evening? Good. Thanks, Gilbert, for that great introduction. Said I look like a gazelle. It's funny because the only thought going through my mind as I was walking up here was, pick up your feet, Walter, don't you? I'm almost 50 years old. These things go through my mind. Now, the second thing was, with all due respect, Mr. Hawks, you're going to have to show me that diploma. He's been giving it out all night, so I give him a little bit. At any rate, I'd like to thank the Roanoke Rapids Athletic Hall of Fame Foundation for bestowing this honor upon me. You know, it's I never imagined 30 plus years ago, as I'm playing sports here, that I'd ever be standing on this stage in front of you guys accepting this honor. I'd also like to congratulate the fellow inductees. It's a great honor. You guys should be proud of all of your accomplishments. So as I think back on all the years that I've played team sports, there are a few common themes that come to mind. The first theme that comes to mind is community, right? And in the introduction, they mentioned that I played T-ball here in the Roanoke Valley area, and all of the team sports that I played I can remember my coaches were volunteers from the community. You know, the people who made sure we got oranges and Gatorade and all of those things. They were the mothers of the players who volunteered their time. And the umpires, even the referees. You know, I'm sure they didn't get paid a whole lot of money for doing what they did, but they sacrificed the time with their family and friends to make sure that the next generation of high achievers, you know, got what they needed in terms of their support and their guidance. The next theme that comes to mind is camaraderie. And I've got to say that in all of the years that I've played sports, I've made some of the best friends that I'll ever make in my life. Even coming up here, there are guys who we started playing t-ball at 7 years old, and we played together through our senior years in high school. Some of these guys have gone on to be influential people in our community, and they've gone on to do great things with their lives. I'm going to forget some names undoubtedly, but these are some of the guys who I've known since I was 6 years old and we played sports together. However, when we get back together, it's just like no time has passed at all. So camaraderie is a very important part of team sports, and that's one of the things that I've valued over the years. And so the last thing is family. And it goes without saying that, you know, I've had a lot of family support throughout all of my years. You mentioned something about the air conditioner before. I think they need to change the filters too. So, yeah. My family's here tonight. My sisters are here. My sister Dina, my older sister Sandra couldn't make it. My two older sisters, they're the ones who actually made me a little tough, right? So they were 8 and 5 years older than I am. And I kind of I liked to run off at the mouth when I was young. So they knocked me around a little bit to keep me in my place. So for that, they also took care of me. They made sure that, you know, I stayed on the straight and narrow and didn't get into a lot of trouble. So thank you, dear. Now, my younger sister, Erica, she's very important as well, because I get these harebrained ideas about different moves or tackles or things that I wanted to do on the field, and Erica would help me test those. So Erica was kind of, you know, the personal crash test dummy for all my harebrained ideas around what I was going to do on the field. So for that, Erica, I thank you. My older brother. So he's always been sort of the barometer that I measure myself against. He's a great role model, great athlete, great person, and he showed me the way as far as, you know, work ethic, commitment, the things that you need to do to achieve certain things, both in athletics and in life. And so if he's not here tonight, but for that, I'd like to thank him. And, you know, most importantly, my parents. My mom couldn't make it tonight, but she has to be the most supportive person in the world. I mean, there's never been a time where I come home from a game discouraged, or, you know, I gripe about this and that, whatever. Teenagers gripe about everything, but she'd sit and listen patiently, and at the end of that conversation, I always took away something positive. And my father. Dad's sitting over there tonight. So my father has taught me what it is to be a father. He's taught me what it is to be accountable. He's taught me what it is to be a respected person in the community. He's also instilled in me a work ethic that he didn't necessarily have to talk about. And I witnessed it firsthand. And for that I thank him. I've got a funny story about my father, and I'll get to the message at the end of it. But at any rate, I wasn't a very good hitter when I played baseball. And so, in fact, I got cut from the Little League baseball league when I was 9 years old. So I played in the minors. In the first couple of games, I'd get to count with 2 strikes. Have the bat here, I'd watch the 3rd strike. I did that for maybe probably 2 games. Didn't swing at the 3rd strike. So on the way home, my father said, there's one thing that I don't want to see you do anymore. I don't want to see you watch another 3rd strike. I said, I think I can do that. Okay. So the next game, I was up, I think it was full count, 3-2. It's 2 strikes. I said, I'm not watching this one. Pitcher threw a pitch that was probably 3 feet over my head. And I jumped and I swung that 3rd strike. And I turned around and looked at my father and smiled. But I do think the message in all of that was, when you have opportunities in life, or when you have calculated risk or things that you want to accomplish, you got to go out and get it. You can't just sit back and wait for it, right? And so getting that bat off the shoulder for me was a metaphor for, you've got sometimes in life you've got to take chances. And that served me well. Dad, thank you. Lastly, my daughter Madison. Madison is 15 years old, and since the day she's come into my life, everything has changed. She's made me a better person. I've become a more responsible father. Well, I wasn't a father before. I've become a more responsible human. And she's made me think about things in a much different light than I ever did before. And I've become much better at expressing myself. And for that, Maddie, thank you. You're the light of my life. I don't know what I'd do without you. So in closing, again, I'd like to say thank you to the foundation. Thank you for everyone who's supported me over the years, all of the coaches. There are too many to name, but all of you have been an inspiration. You've gone above and beyond to make sure that all of the kids have positive role models, served as mother and father figures for kids who weren't fortunate enough to have that at home. And you've done it with integrity, and you've done it in a way that's made it just incredibly, incredibly rewarding. So, thank you so much, and I'll give it back to you, Mr. House.
Let me just say one story. Most of you know that I coached you many years. I had him in baseball one year, and I take full credit for him getting the scholarship at Duke, because after that year I said, Walter, if you want to accomplish something in sport, you better stick to football. Forget baseball.
Jen Watson Jennings. And I'm going to say Jen Watson because I'm used to saying Jen Watson like people are used to saying Heather Hooks, and she said to tell you how. Class of 1995, tennis, basketball, and soccer. And I'm so glad you took after your mother. You look like her. I didn't mean that bad, Jimmy. You did all you could do. Okay. Jen Watson Jenkins was an outstanding student athlete in soccer, tennis, basketball, and track at Roanoke Rapids High School from 1991 to 95. She was the first female athlete to represent Roanoke Rapids at the East-West All-Star Games in any sport and scored the East only gold. Jen was All-State, All-Region, and All-Conference in soccer. She was Conference Co-Player of the Year her senior season. Yeah, I wasn't Roanoke Rapids, okay. And played on the North Carolina Olympic Development Team. I did go to William R. Davey for 6 years, and I was starting to blame it on that. Okay. She represented North Carolina at the ODP Richmond Pool. Jen made the effort to begin Roanoke Rapids High School girls soccer program and played on the first 3 teams from 93 to 95, serving as captain and earning MVP each season. She went on to play soccer at Wake Forest, where she earned a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science accounting. I don't know if I said that right. But anyway, Jen earned MVP and served as captain each of her 4 years in basketball for the Jackets and won all conference and two-time Roanoke Valley All-Area honors. She was a member of the 1993 state championship tennis teams, the 92-91 state runner-up. She was the individual regional conference singles champion in 1992 and the individual regional and conference doubles champion in 93, partnering with Leslie Warren. After graduating from Wake Forest, Jen continued to love the sports and played soccer, basketball, and tennis in New York, playing the Bronx Irish Soccer League for the Central Park Rangers soccer team, USTA tennis, and various basketball leagues. Over the course of the last decade, Jen was transitioned from player to coach for children's teams. So, congratulations. Come on up. We'll take another minute of your time.
And you're like a father to me too. Thank you very much, Gilbert. I got in trouble for calling you that one time too, Mr. Patel. Okay, so first I want to thank the committee so much for this incredible honor. I can't believe that I'm among these people that you see here and that have spoken tonight, and I really am. I don't have anything else to say except thank you. I'm very honored. I'd also like to thank Kelly and Craig Jean for nominating me and just, again, thinking of me among all these great people and athletes. So I would like to take you back to the beginning of my athletic journey. In about 1982, I think, on a field over by Oscar's Restaurant, I'm sure many of you know it, I sat in my mom's lap and cried through my first one or two soccer seasons, not games. I cried through 2 soccer seasons because I did not want to play. But I'm grateful to my parents for encouraging me to keep going, because it wasn't too long after that I began to really love sports. As many of you did, I grew up playing anything I could with the neighborhood boys, exactly like Pam said, soccer, basketball, football, anything I could. I kicked a soccer ball against the wall and shot baskets until the neighbors complained. I just loved it. As I reflected on the years at the high school, I thought of a couple of highlights I wanted to share with you. First, and again, as several of you, Walter, recently spoke of, the friendships that I gained with my teammates were strong and crucial to my life. Debbie, Leslie, Nicole, Sarah, and Susan were my most common cohorts, but I forged many important friendships. As I looked at the 1968 football team enjoying each other's company last night and sharing stories, I know you would all say the same, each and every one of you, not just those honored, but those friendships that you form through Little League and whatever else you've done are just so important. And I would not be here without those teammates. Second, I'm very proud, and it's very funny how our speeches are sort of similar, because another thing I'm very proud of is having led the effort to start the girls' soccer team. As she spoke of starting that basketball program that Gilbert just spoke that I was playing in, it just follows here. But in 1992, when I was a freshman at Roanoke Rapids, we did not even have a girls' soccer team. And I might look young to some of y'all, maybe not, I don't know. But, it's pretty incredible to realize that, even that recently, or it feels recently to me, that we did not even have a girls' soccer team. So we petitioned the school board, raised funds, and succeeded in starting a girls' team. And while at that time, just as a 14-year-old girl, probably my party was I just really wanted to play soccer. I'm now pleased to look back and see the great success that program has had at Roanoke Rapids and the many great soccer players who have come through. And I feel like it's a proud moment for me, because I feel like I left something behind for those other girls, and I just love playing soccer. And I also want to take a minute to name each of the coaches I played under while here. I wish I had the time to talk about something special from each one of them, but I don't, and so I'm just going to acknowledge each one. I had Coach Nelson in track. I had Coach West in tennis, who's also here. I had Frazier, Keeter, Ferguson, and Patella in basketball, and Ballaghan, Lazat, and Frazier in soccer. And I just want to thank each one of them. And while I'm recognizing important people, I want to thank my family for being here with me tonight. My husband, Howard, It's right there. And our children, Howard, raised your hand, Anna Scott, Sally, and the baby, who my sister is walking around somewhere, very back. Thank you all here tonight for tolerating our little busy feet running around. Also, when I think of my years at Roanoke Rapids, I'm struck by how many things I learned and how much fun I had. As Howard and I raise our children in a society crowded with activities, I've reflected on what sports can add to a child's life. I've concluded, and I'm sure you will agree, that valuable and important life lessons are learned through sport, and each of you has talked about that tonight. So I'm going to speak for all of us. We learned how to win and how to lose. We learned to lead and we learned to follow. We discovered what we could accomplish when we worked hard for a goal. We learned to be a great teammate. We learned to get back up after we fell down. We learned it's okay to make mistakes. We learned to persevere. We learned to be gracious winners and gracious losers. We learned that success requires hard work and sacrifice. We learned to listen to and learn from constructive criticism. And these are all lessons I'm grateful to have learned through sport. In closing, I want to thank God, because without Him, I would not be standing here today. And each day it's with my relationship with Jesus that gets me through. And I'd also like to thank my parents, for they are the ones who really enabled me to be here today. For encouraging me as a little girl, sitting at all the games, kicking or throwing a ball with me 1,000,000 times, tolerating the balls bouncing around the house, for driving me back and forth to Raleigh and all over the East Coast, and this one's just for Dad, for not yelling too loud at the refs and other parents when he thought I was fine. Actually, he did, but yeah, he did. And for all your many sacrifices and unwavering support, I thank you.
Rapids High School football team entered the 68th season projected to finish dead last in the conference, winning only 1 or 2 games. Graduation hit the team hard, leaving only a few stars from the 67 team, which was rated as one of the best in the state. But on a cool September night, a 14-7 victory over Greenwood set a pace faithfully followed for the next 7 games. The highlight of the season coming with a victory over Kinston in the final regular season game, securing the NEAC 3A championship for the Jackets. That was the last year that conference existed. The magical season ended with a controversial call to a loss to Roxborough in the first round of the state playoffs, and it was still a very controversial call, and still makes people mad when they think about what happened. The accomplishments of the 68 team brought much in the way of personal pride to the team, the school, and the community, who gave them such loyal support all season, many attending every game, home and away. The championship was the first in 32 years, and would be 32 years before the next one. The reason for the team's success, team effort, was the answer universally supplied by the players themselves. We didn't have any special stars this season. We just all worked together. So I'd like to welcome and ask the 68 football team to come up. They must all be Baptists. They're sitting in the back of the thing. So come on up here.
Where do you want?
Huh?
Where do you want?
Right up here. Wait just a minute. Get everybody. A lot of them would like to say something, but a lot of them felt like it'd be best if Barry started out, said a few things.
Tommy.
Well, they said you first and Tommy second, so don't change this because you get me confused. So come on.
Tommy.
Oh, well, confused. Tommy Fonte, come on up here. I know where you go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, Barry. Hey, John. Hey, Barry was the quarterback, so if he says I go first, I go first.
That's it.
You know, being on a public stage is kind of foreign to me. It's been 40-some years, good Lord, almost 50. But, yeah. But when Barry asked me to say something, I agreed I'd say something. And I thought, you know, in 50 years, I've got a lot of material to work with. Volumes. And I started getting kind of excited, and he just asked me last night, and my wife grabbed me by the wrist and put her index finger in my face and said, "Promise me that you will make this short." However, and I agreed to it. You know, my shoulders slumped and I kind of lost my mojo, and I said, "Okay, I promise." However, she, my dear Mary, could not make it tonight. So, but there's a major factor that most of you out there understand that takes precedence of just about all other things, and that's the yes, dear factor. So I'm going to keep my promise and make this short and sweet. On behalf of all my teammates, our coaches and managers, we are flattered and honored by this award, and we thank you. We thank all of you, and we salute the entire community of Roanoke Rapids.
First of all, I want to make sure everybody knows who these guys are behind me. So if you've got your programs, I'm going to start at the front row, and as I call out your name, if you'll just raise your hand, and if you're a lineman, you can curtsy. You know where this is going. Let's see. All right, Bobby Warren. Okay. I'm just calling out the ones I know that are here, and I don't think I'm going to miss anybody. Ray Barmer. Okay. Martin Baird. All right, second row, here we go. Almost all in attendance. We had 40 on the team that year, and they're now 35 that survived. We've lost about 5. And of those 35, we've got about over 20 here today, so that's not bad percentage for 50 years of going different ways. But second row, Tommy Baird, Ronnie Sewell. I had a chance to talk to these catching up to, but okay. Russ McBrayer. Rocky Lane, Hard Rock. Does anybody remember Hard Rock from People's Theater? Yes. Get your feet off the floor. Hard Rock, I love it. Dave Longman, teacher. Good, okay. Steve Blackwood. George Hubbard. Jim Harding, Tommy Myrick, Ames Hudson, all the way from Destin, Florida. And in the last row, we got Dan Crawford, Mike Gray, All East, All Conference, East-West All-Star, Tommy Farmer. Just like Joe Namath. Bob Johnson. Slow. Mike Hall at the end. Did I miss anybody? Okay, we got them all there. Okay. It's been quite a while since I've had a microphone, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. My wife told me, make it short. So I got a few notes that I brought here. It won't be that long, I promise. But this was a rebuilding year that we had in 1967. And to make sure you understand what 68 champions were, that means we played football in the fall of 1968. If you graduated in 1968, you graduated in the spring. Is that correct? I got that right? Okay, that's the way it works. Okay. Just want to make sure that this represents the graduating classes of 69, 70, and 71. Everybody behind me here. Just want to recap some of the highlights of the season. First two games that we played, not very pretty. Played one down to Hosky. It was wet. It was fumbles all night long. Ended up being a tie.
Who was the quarterback?
I have no idea. It was the worst called game by any quarterback in the history of Warren Rapids High School. I guarantee you. Okay, right, Dave? Okay. All right. The second game was here on Hoyle Field with Elizabeth City. We lost that game as well. But the defense was playing great. First two games, they played great that game. The two scores were, one was a picked up fumble and a punt return, so it really didn't count against the defense. These guys behind us, we had probably one of the best defenses schools ever had. Averaged giving about 8 points a game for the whole year. That didn't include the first game when the defense didn't even account for those points at all. So defense started getting a little bit better. After those first two games, we learned how to hold on to the ball. Lonnie Sewell picked up a string, white string. He took the string, he wrapped it around his front cleat, tied it behind his leg, and that was a cannon. It went off, and we followed him for the next 8 games, won them all. Starting down in Greenville, we won that game, and that was played in Pickland Stadium, East Carolina Stadium. We got to play in the college stadium. In fact, we played a couple of games down there, and Pickland Stadium was very, very good to us back in those days. The 5th game of the year would have been the same weekend that we're experiencing right now. We played Havelock. Havelock had just lost to Tarboro the week before, like 60-0. We had beaten Tarboro 2 weeks before that, 20-14 or something like that. So this is a true story. Some of the players or some fans asked us to take it easy on them that night. So we changed our game plan from trouncing to just being kind. I think we won 7-0 or something like that. Another offensive juggernaut. But that was a homecoming game, and we ended up playing a lot of homecomings that year because everybody tried to schedule the easiest opponent. So we got to see a lot of homecoming queens, and there was some home crying. Last game of the season, the regular season, ended up down in Kinston, North Carolina. We won that game 10-7, and that gave us the championship. First championship in 32 years, as we said earlier. Coming back home that night, the bus, they met out at the Oakland Shopping Center. At least we didn't know, it was surprised the whole team, but half of the town showed up out there and just giving us a bunch of hugs and kisses, and it was a great time. Great time to be playing ball. Even people from Weldon came over. That's just like it was so strange right then. But the next game, we made the playoffs. Roxborough. Phil was talking about Roxborough. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that story, about that controversy. This is the truth. This is how it happened. It was tied up going into the last quarter, and the word got out on the field that if we could maintain it, that we would win the game because we had more offense, more offensive yardage than Roxborough had at the time. All we had to do was just hang on the rest of the game. And it got down the last quarter, and somewhere around midfield, I'm not sure if it was on their side of the field, ours, it was third, I don't know how many yards it was. Rocky Lane broke through, caught the quarterback, put him down like you're supposed to. But we had another player that came in late. And some people say it was a spear, but it just came in late. And he hit him. And when he hit him, the referee threw a flag. And one of our other players supposedly let out a 4-letter word that wasn't acceptable on the field that night. And when he did that, there was some more flags thrown. And after that, it was just like everybody was hollering at refs, and then flags were flying everywhere. There were more flags, and you couldn't see the grass. The flag was covered so much. At the end of it, there was 45 yards. 45 yards on a 100-yard field is a lot of real estate. And it put them deep into the red zone. And the rest is history. They scored. And we tried to come back, but it was over by then. Anyway, that reminded me, though, that right after that game, I was seeing a movie. Gene Hackman was in. He said he was a coach of a ragtag football team that did real good. And he said that after that game, that nobody on that team, that they didn't have any idea what they had done to the rest of their lives. That they had been part of something great. And greatness, however brief, stays a lifetime. It has for us, this community, this small town, one high school, one team. Everybody bought into it that year. Fans were great. They followed us all over. I just want to thank everybody for being what you were back then, and thank you for coming out tonight. We found out about this during the summer, that we were going to be inducted tonight. And Tommy and I, Rocky, kind of divided up the team's players, and everybody called everybody up to invite them over, and we had all this set up for September. And then it got canceled, and during that time I made a bunch of phone calls, and it was so much fun catching back up with these guys again and hearing some of these ridiculous stories that they came up with. And, one of them was, a lot of them reminded me of how many times I got caught, collared, thrown down in practice. Every one of them, I can't begin to tell you how many times it happens. One that I could walk in here at night. And I finally realized that maybe I had been living in a fantasy world all these years. I didn't think I got caught, but I did. I admit it now. But there was one story I've got to tell you. This lineman told me, he said, Barry, You know, they timed us in 40 back in high school. And I had the same time in 40 that you did. And I kind of laughed like that too. And then, a couple of weeks later, I was drinking coffee one morning and it just hit me. I'd been had again. Like the lineman had got me again. And I realized that back then, they didn't use stopwatches to time linemen. They used calendars. Because it would take days for the lineman to walk from the practice field up to, walk from the dressing room to hit to the practice field. The backs would get out there early, and we'd run 3 or 4 laps and 30 or 40 wind sprints just to get warmed up. And somebody would say, "Everybody, where's the line?" And Russell David would say, "Well, I saw them a couple of days ago. They were making their way up about a 7th grade building. They'll be here today now." And we turn around and we hear the clip clop, walking down Washington Street. It had those high top boots. Football shoes on, the ones that were laced up to your knee, and they had those spikes that were about 3 inches long and little metal tips to them, and they would be just miring down in the asphalt, and then you walk so slowly up there. But anyway, we had a lot of fun with the lineman. But I do want to thank the Hall of Fame committee. This has been a 50-year celebration for us. It's a great time for us to come here, and we appreciate the honor that was bestowed upon us tonight. I'd like to personally honor Rocky Lane, my team. Rocky's had a vision for this Hall of Fame for many years, and through his vision, his patience, his persistence, and his diplomatic savvy, this has grown to the event it has tonight here. There was a movie one time called Field of Dreams, that there was a little voice that said, "If you build it, they will come." Here in Roanoke Rapids, if you build it right, they'll come back. So we'll be back. Thank you very much.